So the program will be from February 17th to April 7th, Mondays and Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern. The full price of the program is $850 with sliding scale available. I have some cute little discount codes. And then if for whatever reason those discount codes do not allow this program to be accessible to you, literally please feel free to email me and we will figure something out. In the program you can expect some weekly group coaching involving some education. Ooh, Mia's ready. Some education, some role play case studies, some discussions. We have some weekly boundary setting practice. Hey Kenya. We'll have like a virtual community, so other people that are in the program that are also experiencing similar struggles, or not similar struggles, but struggles that are helpful to listen to and kind of be in community with and witnessing. So that is, let's text you back. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, you froze for a second. What did you say?
I was saying my AirPods aren't on, but now they are.
Of course, when I went to order a tea, I ran into someone that I knew. So that's what took me extra time. But I'm here and really appreciating that in the spirit of burnout prevention, we are moving very much at our own pace, 30 minutes behind.
Yes. I was starting off, I told people at the beginning, I was like, I'm starting off late because I kind of wanted to take a nap before this, and so I texted Mia and I said I would like to take a nap, and so that's what I did.
And I got myself a ginger tea and made sure I could do this outside. So
absolutely no urgency.
No, it feels good.
Yeah.
Should I introduce myself?
I would love if you would introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Mia Schachter. I am on Instagram at Consent Wizard. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a consent educator and an intimacy coordinator for TV and film. A podcaster, a writer, an artist of many media. And we could share how we met. Yeah.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Do you want to say or should I say?
I'll start off by saying that I don't know how I ran into Mia's page. It kind of like I was on the interwebs, on Instagram doing my thing, and for whatever reason I saw a Consent Wizard and I said, and then I decided to email them. I don't normally just randomly email people in that way. But I decided something inside me was like, I kind of need to know what this person's doing. And so, yeah, you can hop in there.
Okay, so one day I got a cold email in my inbox that was like, I'm obsessed with your website or something like that. And it was so warm and kind and felt like I felt such a resonance. And then I went onto your website and I remember seeing on your contact page the final thing where I was like, yes, I have to talk to this person, was that on your contact page it was like, basically I'll get back to you when I feel like it.
Yeah.
I was like, God, I admire that. I really admire that. And then now you've been on the podcast, which we should mention will be out in a day or two.
In a day or two?
Yeah, any minute now. And yeah, what else? We have become friends. You're one of my
Yes.
dog's best friends. She's
Yes, I
pretty
love your dog.
obsessed with you. You'll see her tomorrow.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and you did my educator training, and is that all of our overlaps?
I think
Yeah,
thus
I think
far,
so.
we may have some
Cool.
more overlaps coming this year that you will
That's
reveal to
true.
people about at some point.
It's possible.
But yeah, those are the overlaps thus far.
Cool. And then now you're offering the Connection Lab
Yep,
through Share the Load.
exactly. Post taking the program.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here we are today. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing that. Yeah, I was really excited
Yeah.
to have you on today, to kind of like talk about how we met, talk about the Connection Lab, and kind of some of how I came to get into this work, what was
Mm-hmm.
interesting to me, what was interesting to you. And so I kind of want to know if there's anything that you wanted to start off with today before we get into anything else.
You hit it. I was gonna ask you, like,
Yeah.
when you think about like the relationship between burnout and consent, like how does
Hmm.
that, or maybe like where did that start for you? Like when did that kind of click?
Yes. So I think it clicked for me when I burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
I think as usually like experiences where you're feeling out of control, where you're feeling overwhelmed, where lots of different factors are kind of at play. I think it was a pretty transformative time in my life, the pandemic, as maybe other people's lives as well. And so when I realized that I kind of felt like that meme with that dog, that's on in the room on fire, and the dog is like everything is fine,
Mm-hmm.
but the room
Mm-hmm.
is on fire. I kind of realized at that point, like, okay, I'm not sure I'm saying yes or no or maybes to the like things that I should be. But my body's absolutely telling me no right now. That much I can tell. Um, and so once I kind of like was able to see the cues, even if I didn't really have much meaning about what was going on, it kind of came to me that I needed some support to help like sift through what was going on and figure out how I was gonna like adjust what my life was looking like, because it was
Mm.
not sustainable.
I have a question about something
Yeah,
that you just said.
for sure.
When you said that your, and Tennessee's right here, by the way. She is here,
You're
bumping up
so
against my back.
cute.
When you said that your body was telling you that you were burning out, what
Hmm.
did that look like? Like, how did that show up?
Yeah. So, for my body and the bodies of a lot of folks, there's this mind gut connection. That is very present. And so for me, I ended up having lots of different interesting digestive issues
Mm-hmm.
that doctors were not sure of what to make of it, and also like gaslit me at different moments because my body was not doing the things or showing the symptoms in the ways that like made sense to their medical model or what have
Right.
you. And so, lots of digestive issues, some nausea. My vagus nerve was all out of whack, essentially.
Mm.
Um, Lots of muscle aches, body pains, lots loss of appetite, and then some of those other things that like will sometimes look like depression or
Mm-hmm.
depression or any other mental health exacerbated problem. So that was what mine looked like. And because capitalism has done its job phenomenally for me, I really did a great job maintaining my workload during that time
Right.
as a therapist, right? So like my
Right.
job, I became like my skill level during the pandemic, and as my body was actively burning out, was amazing, which was
Mm-hmm.
part of the problem. That my
Right.
manager parts were way too good at what was happening, and I ended up in a place that like I now know I should not have been at, and I never
Mm.
will return to again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hearing your description of what your burnout felt like, it's really resonating with me because, as you know, I also I have like chronic gut and autoimmune issues, and in periods of stress, and I'll have like a mind, like an upset, like sort of like a peak of a
Yeah.
gut issue if I have like an acute stressor. But when it's chronic stress, it's so sinister and it takes such a toll over time, and you can't always track like what caused it.
Yeah.
And I experienced very similar symptoms to you, and was diagnosed with depression, was diagnosed with anxiety, was medicated for those things. Those, SSRIs targeted,
Yep.
obviously, the serotonin in my gut,
Yep.
fucked up my gut even worse, made me more
Yep.
sick. No one was sort of addressing like the underlying issue. I tie that in with capitalism. Like, no one can
For
profit
sure.
off of you if you're just like eating whole foods instead of, and I don't mean the grocery store, I mean like, foods with like one ingredient, as opposed to
Yeah.
like getting pharmaceuticals and just sort
Yeah.
of taking a pill for the rest of your life. And doctors don't make money if you actually get better. So a lot of that tracks with my experience too. I haven't really thought about it as burnout. I think it's a different form of burnout than what I usually think about burnout and work, as opposed to like
Yeah.
burnout and like my relationship, or like
Yeah.
my,
It's
my
burnout and
family.
labor.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
burnout and like any kind of labor. Right.
Any
That's
kind
a
of
really
labor. Yeah.
important point. And then there was something else that you said about, mm, the productivity. I've been thinking a lot
Yeah.
about this, and how, like, as a person who deals with chronic illness, my productivity has constantly been a way that I've been able to prove that I'm normal, and even above normal, like
Hmm.
look how good I am at my job, and look at
Yeah.
how reliable I am. I will never
Yep.
flake on you. I
Yep.
will never cancel plans.
Yep.
You can keep giving me stuff to do, and I will do it with flying colors. And that's how I convince myself that this is fine and this is normal. It was what you were talking about was making me think about the post I made today about gaslighting yourself.
Yeah.
Because what was happening for me a lot when I was experiencing, I still experience those symptoms, but it feels more like, this is like the result of like decades of damage to my gut. It's not like new things due to
Yeah.
stress, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm like healing my gut now, so it's a bit different. But the gaslighting of myself, the gaslighting that I was experiencing from doctors was obscene. I literally had a doctor ask me once, "Who else in your family has the crazy?" I have to laugh. Like, what do you do?
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but the
Yeah. Yeah.
gaslighting of myself, I think, was the part that was doing the most damage to my relationship with my body. Because
Yes.
if I hadn't been gaslighting myself, then a doctor could have said that to me, and I would have been like, "That's really inappropriate. That's not okay. I'm gonna find a new doctor, and fuck you."
And
But
fuck you.
right. But instead, what was happening was that I was saying things to myself like, and I actually have a post about this coming, which is
Hmm.
like, I'm just a complaint. Like, everyone feels this way. I'm just the only one complaining. Or like, I'm
Mm.
just extra sensitive. Like those kinds
The
of,
storytelling around it.
the story, yeah, about like my inadequacy or my specialness in a way. And the ways that was getting me to continue to like produce and, contribute
Yeah.
to my community and the workforce and blah blah blah, and see myself as like a valuable member of
Member
society.
of society. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
The classic. And to prove that you potentially, if this was your experience, that you were not lazy.
That I was not. Oh my God, Umu. When I was 6 years old, I got tested for anemia, and the doctor said she's not anemic. She just has a lazy personality.
And the way that you see, so like, we don't have to go
6 years
anywhere with
old.
this, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to go anywhere with this, but like that target memory is something that a therapist would be like, okay,
Right. Right.
okay,
Right.
right? Because that was a moment where a core belief was potentially planted,
Yes.
right?
And not just in me, in my parents as well.
In your parents as well.
Our
Something
kid is
huge
lazy.
shifted
Yeah.
that day because that person said that really inappropriate thing to you.
Right. My mom says that she was like fuck you to the doctor, like internally. Like she didn't say that to him, and he
Yeah.
continued to be my pediatrician for many, many
Yeah. For
years.
many years. And that's,
Yeah. But
what does
she,
that teach you? Yeah.
yeah, what does that teach you? Like that's what care looks like?
Mm-hmm. 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 And so that fucking laziness thing, it's a lie. It's ridiculous. Um, and me not wanting to be lazy, and also because of the pandemic that like none of us planned for or
Right.
understood what's going on. I did the call of being an essential worker or whatever, right? And was like,
Mm-hmm.
people need
Mm-hmm.
this service to be provided. Like people are really struggling, and though I did not learn how to do any of what's going on right now in school,
Nobody did.
like at all, let me see if I can go and do something. And I pushed past my body's capacity. Did not even realize I was doing it at certain points until it was
Mm-hmm.
like really, it wasn't too late, but it was like it got to a point. It got to a point, and lots of different parts of myself were activated, and had to do some really intentional life changing decisions so that I could live a different life.
So there's three things that I want to ask, and I'm thinking I should like get out a pen and paper. Let me just say them. Okay, so one is what there was an added element that I'm aware of, which is that you wanted to get your hours done,
Yes, I did.
right?
Yes. Hmm.
And there was sort of like, oh, this is a good time to do that in a way.
For sure. Hmm.
And one of the questions that came up for me as you were talking was, how do you think it impacts burnout and people's ability to sort of be in consent, engage consent with themselves, listen to their bodies, etc., when they're particularly in helping professions? And then the third thing, is what were the life changes that you said you made some life changes. I'm
Yep.
curious what those are.
Yep. Lovely. Okay. Um, so in the helping profession and in the mental health field, I think specifically, we quite literally learn, I think, in our programs and then later on from our employers to not be in consent with ourselves. Being asked at lots of different corners to be in violation of our ethics, our values, to posit that like the stakeholders' views of like our clients' lives are more important. We're asked to like meet these productivity measures, right? And like client success does not look like, how is the client feeling week to week, is it's whether or not you're maintaining a caseload of a specific number week to week, month to month, right? And how many dollars are being brought into the business, not whether or not like you're making that really actual important impact, which is I think what is probably should be more important, like not that other stuff. And so it's really hard to like be in consent with yourself, right? Where maybe you're like, I kind of need to take a break. Like I'm taking way too many clients. When your employer's like, you need to be taking more employees. Look at our clients. Look at our wait list. It's wild. And then you go, damn. Well, I'm a therapist. I'm like, I have the skill. Like, let me just get rid of my lunch today. Like, I won't do
Oh,
lunch hour on Tuesdays anymore. I'll take a client. And then boom, now you don't have lunch on Tuesdays anymore. And so I say all this to say that like a lot of our relationships with our employers, and I think it's because of capitalism at its core, and then the way capitalism relates to grad school, which is how they, create us. That really makes it difficult to be in consent with yourself, be in consent with your body, to listen to your body's cues, and to actually take any like safe, actionable steps towards preventing burnout. Because then you might potentially be taking your own unpaid time off to take care of yourself because your
right.
employer doesn't cover that stuff.
Something that's coming up for me that I think relates back to the educator training and also some of like the intimacy coordination training that I've offered is like, it sounds like a big thing that's really missing in, all the incredibly extensive training that you go through to be a therapist is like any kind of business training where like you and I
Yeah.
both know that like group classes are the biggest impact and also the the best way for you to make more money and work less and support your ability to do one-on-ones, because one-on-ones are very, very, very draining. They are not something that you can do 40 hours a week.
Mia, and the way that it is so like anyone that says different from what I'm saying, I invite them to like, sit with any discomfort that might come from what I'm about to say. I do not think that any therapist should be working more than 20 hours a week, seeing clients one on one. I would even posture that like no therapist should be doing more than 15 a week of face to face, one on one clients. And that no therapist, after the type of like training that we have to go through, which I want to also say can be better, should be better. There are lots of issues with all of these programs, like, and given all that happens, like there is no reason why these grad school programs should be telling us that we have to work in private practice when we could very well be making six figures every single year.
So
and there are therapists out there that I have seen with my eyes that are doing it.
So the next question is, why do you think that both people who go into becoming a therapist and clients, why do you think that all of us think that therapists should not be making a good living?
So it's interesting. I think that there's this catch up that's happening with like mental health stigma that really impacts people's views of the mental health profession and like the level of importance and impact that we kind of have in the world and in people's lives. I think capitalism does not take healing seriously, and so because capitalism does not take healing seriously, how could like us as consumers take healing seriously? Unless it's
I'm getting my notebook out.
Of course, unless it's packaged by capitalism, which then things like BetterHelp will be really great to use, right?
Right.
Then
those things are, I mean, those are good.
Right? To capitalism, those are great. Like capitalism's gonna love BetterHelp. Capitalism's gonna love those types of apps. It's gonna say like, look at this nice little influencer using this app. Look at this like person with whatever using this app. They're not going to say like, hey, your mental health therapist is just as important as your doctor, your physical doctor, your psychiatrist. Though we are put underneath like the same similar hurdles, like in the background in terms of insurance and lobbying and stakeholders and paperwork and all of that stuff. Because capitalism does not view healing as, or this kind of healing as beneficial or as important and can't package it in a specific way, like therapists are then left to kind of see what's out there and have to fight the gatekeepers that are saying that it has to keep looking like this.
Right. Yeah, the gatekeeping of wellness is fucking gnarly. Yeah.
So then I think do you have another question?
Well, no, I had that. What was you talked about like the changes that you had to make in your life, and I'm curious if you could share what some of those look like.
Yep. So first things first, I quit my nonprofit job.
Good.
I quit it. I realized very quickly after something traumatic happened on the job, like near the ending of it, that working there was not sustainable, especially if the organizational support was not there. And that's now something that I take very seriously. If there is no organizational support, and I am under levels of stress that I cannot take, I will fail and I will not thrive. And so if that's the case, I need to just move out of the situation. And that's just me. And so I moved out of the situation. I left it.
Wait, I want to capture this thought that I just had, and it's like over here, and I have to get it back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking about this. Like, if you have a core negative core belief that you're like not good at your job, then burnout is going to confirm that for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I wonder how often people chase, and I wonder if I do this too, like drive themselves into burnout to validate that core belief.
Yes. I almost potentially could have been in a situation where I stayed at that job because the fear that like I wouldn't be able to do anything other than that job.
Right, right,
Though I knew that that job was impacting me in ways that were like messed up astronomically, right? If I felt
right,
like, well, this is the only job that I can do, and this is the only job that I've been able to get, like, I have to keep this job and I have to stay in this situation. And like, this is just like, I have to do my time. That's what a lot of like therapist programs
right,
will posture. Like, you should do your
right.
time in nonprofit. This is just kind of like what you have to do. This is it until some other thing happens. They never really tell you what the other thing is.
Right. That's, you know, that relates to a lot of stuff in the TV and film industry too. You know, you got to put in your time as a PA, you got to put in your time as an AD
Yep.
or whatever.
Yep.
And there's a lot of like, uh, it's it's a little more, you know, it's a like male dominated field, so it's a bit more of like a hazing kind of
Yes. Yep.
vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really
Yeah.
tracking for me in that way.
And so the core belief aspect, like identifying and acknowledging like what core beliefs are like lingering around your relationship to labor, like
Right.
your relationship to work, your relationship to labor in your romantic relationships, your platonic relationships with your family. Um,
Mm.
those will definitely be part of like the parts of you that may be activated during times of stress and burnout, and are
Do
places
you
to kind of like explore a little bit.
Yeah. Do you ever think that that burnout is like a self-sabotage tactic?
I think that burnout can be a self sabotage tactic for sure, um, and can sometimes even be like self fulfilling prophecy almost,
Right, right,
right? And can sometimes be connected to like any part of us that experiences any like people pleasing tendencies,
yes,
connected to past childhood things or other life related events that have kind of informed that like this is how I have to navigate the world, or this is how I have been navigating the world, and like what else is there to be doing.
right, right. You know, I mean, people obviously also get rewarded for like driving themselves to burnout.
Yeah, capitalism rewards you for it for
Yeah,
sure. Not
yeah,
always, um and not in the ways that like I don't even know how to like parse it all out together, but like capitalism rewards you for it, but like not always. I'll just leave it there.
right, right. Well, yeah, like you don't always make more money just because you work more.
Uh-huh. But your
Um,
social standing, right? People, way
right.
people perceive you when you're overworking yourself and you're devoting your life to work, absolutely is a like benefit to some people in their lives, and it's like a material
Yeah.
resource of sorts.
Yeah, and whether or not the demonstration that it's valued is financial, you know, it might also be that you get accolades and that people
Yes,
like you and that, you know,
yes,
people seek you out and they you get press or, you know, whatever it is. Like
whatever
this
it is.
person's really hard. You get really good feedback often. Um, there was something coming up for me that I lost as we were talking about that. Um, yeah. Any What else? What other kinds of changes did you make? You quit
Yes,
that job.
quit that job. I took 2 months of a mini sabbatical.
Oh.
And so I wanted to do a real like a whole month off of time, but the way that like my life and my finances were structured, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't just like stop working. And so what I opted to do was set up the first 2 months of the year where 1 week I saw clients, 1 week I did not. 1 week I saw clients, 1 week I did not. And so I did
Mm-hmm.
that for 2months, and I spoke to all of my clients about it and let them know what was going on. It was really great. Pardon, I really hate that I said my clients 2 times just now. The folks that I work with,
Mm.
I just don't like saying my clients. It just feels weird.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah. And so I'm trying to figure out some like language shifts around.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. my
Does it feel
clients.
possessive to you?
It feels possessive. It feels like it doesn't honor like it feels like it shows like the power dynamic very blatantly, and that's
Yes.
not what I'm trying to posture like as the most
Oh,
important
interesting.
thing. My role in their life,
Yeah.
right? I think there's like other things that are like a part of it that's more important, and so
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to like stop saying my clients. Like everybody talks about it that way, and it's like, you know,
Yeah. Well, I like
it's
the
tough to
people
figure
that
out how
I
to
work
shift it.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so yes, the people that I work with, I spoke to them. It was all nice, fine, and dandy, but that was really one big shift. And something that
Hmm.
I'm committing to doing every year is to taking a sabbatical, and
Yeah.
not that's not part of my vacation either.
Right. Right.
That's not my vacation
Cool.
time. I'm taking a sabbatical from work,
Mm,
and then
I
I
like
also
that.
have times where I'm taking time off of work, my regular like vacation holiday times.
Right. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I also started to take my relationship to my body.
Mm.
I don't want to say seriously. It's not that I wasn't doing it seriously before, but like the intentionality around how I was relating to my body changed like very drastically, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And with the help of my therapist who does IFS and EMDR, and so like
Mm.
all of those things in tangent together, using the help of my therapist, relating to my body differently, doing like some like sometimes daily neural exercises for my body. I was doing some like pandiculation at some point,
What is
like
that?
every day. You know how like your cat will do that thing where like it'll like stretch like really like
Yeah.
right? So it's not stretching, but it's like that like longer thing. So that's
Hmm.
really helpful for the body. That's like that like extra energy that gets shaken off from like animals after fighting or whatever.
Yeah.
Pandiculation is it's like a really great like somatic resource.
Pandiculation.
Yeah. Kitty cats do it a lot. Pandiculation.
Pandiculation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I she does that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So our animals do it a lot. And it's better for you than stretching. Like the sometimes people
Mm.
will be like, "Oh, my body's really sore. I need to stretch." And usually you don't
Mm.
like stretching is helpful, but what is probably more helpful and we should probably all be doing a lot more of it is the pandiculation.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I see a infographic in your future.
Well, see, I can't wait to like get like my infographic Instagrammer eye like even more uh like flexed, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because you're good.
Ty's
Because
here.
when
That's
people are
funny.
talking, hey Ty,
Ty just got here and he was texting me and he was like, he's gonna realize that I'm on Instagram right now with Umo and then he will not
you'd be like, what the
be
heck?
bothered that I'm not responding to him. Hi Ty. That's really funny. Uh, yeah, I know the infographic Instagram brain is like I'm working on it too. It's a really important skill.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's probably the last thing that I'll know. Outside of like, like obviously because I was connected to my body more, I was able to tell more when I was distressed and when I was like violating any parts of myself, or when I was pushing past any limits. And so I was able to
Mm,
communicate differently, and then I learned how to communicate differently, and all the different types of communication that could potentially happen. And then I made my
mm,
boundaries really rigid in different parts of my life, and I stopped talking about specific things, stopped watching specific things, and
hmm.
started doing more specific things as opposed to other specific things.
And are these all things that you're going to be helping people find for themselves in the class that you're offering?
Yes. Yes. And it's something that like I think is really cool because all of the things that work for me, like none of them could work for you.
Right.
Right. And so that's the fun part, I think, about being able to be in these group spaces together is to be able to like one have a person that kind of has this knowledge, has done all the research for you, right? Like use me as your Google essentially related to
Yeah.
this shit instead of going out there trying to like figure
Like,
out how to talk to your boss. Why do that? I'm the
right.
Google essentially. And then you're in a group setting with other people that are like, huh, I don't know really what's going on in this part of my life. Or like I also have
Mm,
a mom that's blank, or like my partner also blank, and or like my job is also blank in this way. And kind of being able to like have that community to bounce those ideas off of, figure out what works, what doesn't work, what cultural like implications need to be considered, what systemic like factors are at play, what things to take into consideration, what things to like release to the universe or the whatever. Um,
hmm.
it's cool to do that in a group setting and not to feel like you have to figure that out by yourself, because you probably shouldn't have
Right.
been figuring it out by yourself to begin with.
No. I'm suddenly having this like sort of image of like because you were referring to yourself as a Google, but it's like it's like all these it's almost it's as if you could apply filters to Google that were like not the normal filters, but like anti-capitalist,
Yes,
anti-racist, decolonized,
yes,
blah 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 blah.
yes.
And so that's why people are paying you and seeking
Me,
you out in
absolutely,
particular, as
absolutely.
opposed to, if you Google like burnout or like burnout and consent, you might get like something from WebMD and something from Psychology Today, but it's like this way people get to talk to you specifically
Me.
with your
Hmm.
lens, your perspective, your
Yeah,
training, your
yep,
experience. Um,
precisely.
what would you like to tell people about what this class is going to entail?
Ooh, that's a great question, Mia. Thanks for asking. Um, so the group is 7 weeks. That's number one. Um, I really want to do a 3 month program at some point, but
Yeah,
we'll do the 7 weeks first and see how it goes. Um, it's going to be focused mainly on boundaries, burnout, consent. Mondays and Thursdays, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
Eastern
We're gonna
time.
be Eastern time, thank you. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be talking about things like the nervous system, the body, talking about grief, talking about play, talking about childhood boundary wounds, talking about consent and how it's more than just like an embodied, or more than just like an enthusiastic yes, that there's so much more to that, and that it's not just about sex. Talking about our relationships to ourselves, our relationships to people in our lives, whether that's our partners, our family members, our bosses, our employers, talking about all of the systemic implications that come into you having boundaries and using boundaries, right? Like I, as a Black person, might not be using my boundaries, right, or be able to use
Mm.
boundaries in the same way as you in your white body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there might be different like implications to talk about, and to consider when even talking about these types of things, and that'll be a part of the class as well. Like what is your vibe of the racial violence at your job? Like how much do you really think you can get away with, right?
Yeah,
Because that's a real piece of it. Like I'm not gonna just give like blatant like advice about, yeah, with micromanagers this is what you should do,
right,
without it, integrating the implications of your identity location markers.
right, right. Very cool.
Yeah. And so 7 weeks, it's going to be lots of like active storytelling, I think, bringing in your life experiences, neurodivergent aware, trauma informed, um, anti-racist. There's going to be like weekly homework assignments, invitations to do, some book reading to do as well. Virtual community offline on Slack or Discord. I
Cool.
haven't decided which one yet, but one of
Mm-hmm.
the two. Yeah,
Sounds great.
I think it's gonna be really good.
It sounds great. And for anyone who's interested in more information, the link is in my bio. I presume it's also in your bio.
It is in my bio. Yep, yep.
Yes, and there you'll go to the Share the Load website, and then there's a whole
Yes,
landing page with a really thorough description, and it'll tell you everything you need to know.
yes,
And it is on a sliding scale, so there's sliding scale options
precisely.
available. Is there anything else that we need to share?
No, outside of like if anybody has any questions about
Yeah.
it, comments, concerns, like right now, as well as if you're watching this replay, please feel free to DM me, send me a message on or an email
Mm-hmm.
about this specific thing, and I will get back to you. We can chit chat it up. If you fill out the interest form in the link in my bio, that will also, you can fill that out before um, buying the program. And so if you fill that out first, we can do a free 15-minute consultation, chit chat about
Mm-hmm.
it, see if there's any hesitations, barriers, and figure out what needs to happen.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. Anything else that we should touch on? Anything else you want to ask me?
Hmm. What should I ask you last? I think I
I
want to ask
mean,
one question. There's a burning question inside of me. Let's see. Let's see. I'm just fucking around, Mia.
well, I'm also going to see you tomorrow, so we don't have
Yeah.
to wait,
We'll chat
we don't have to
tomorrow.
keep it here. Okay.
That's it for me.
All right. Great. Um, cool. Well, then I will see you tomorrow.
Yes.
And I'll be in touch about ideas of where to do that. Okay. Bye, Oumou. Thanks. See ya.